This here is Hurricane Rita. You can see the eye of the hurricane, the eye or the center of the hurricane right there, and then the outer bands going outward from that inner part of the intense low pressure, and those bands go in a counterclockwise pattern, which we would expect with an extreme low pressure. Knowing what I know about Hurricane Rita, is the fact that its path went right over here into Texas, and then it quickly then moved off to the northeast thanks to the westerlies. So knowing that the path was in this general direction, I can go ahead and predict where the winds are the most intense. And so if it's going in this general direction, the winds are always the most intense in the right front quadrant, or the right front part of this hurricane eye. And if I'll go ahead and I'll zoom in, let's take a look at another type of hurricane, Hurricane Michael, which happened in October 2018. This is a very zoomed in picture of the eye. I mean, this is my dream, is to actually be in the eye of a hurricane, to have the eye pass over, because what you would expect is actually be able to see just a little sliver of sun beaming down into this little hole in this atmosphere called a hurricane. So the winds here on this right front quadrant, because I know that this hurricane was going towards the north, in this case, the right front quadrant, these are where the winds were the most severe. In the case of Hurricane Michael, where were those winds? Where those winds hit? A place called Mexico Beach, just to the east of Panama City. And in that place, it was absolutely devastated from the intense right front quadrant. So when we think about the winds, the right front quadrant is the most concerning part of a hurricane. Now let's look at kind of a cross section or a side view of a hurricane. This is our good friend Hurricane Rita. And so what they did was using remote sensing, essentially active remote sensing, just try to detect how thick are the clouds, how thick is the precipitation belt. And then we essentially do a cross section as we go across this line. The cross section, the side view, is shown down here. So you can see the eye, that kind of that deep low part of the cloud deck, and that corresponds with the location of our eye wall. But then we can see these dense lines, these dense bands that come emanating out of the hurricane center. And so you'll have these periods, if you've ever been in a hurricane, where you'll get intense winds, then it'll die down for a little bit, and intense winds, and then die down. Essentially what's happening is those bands or those belts of rain and extreme storms are coming over your area and then essentially going away and then coming over and then essentially coming over your area again. And so all of this is another way to showcase, once again, the most intense part of a hurricane is the right front quadrant, or the right front part of the eye wall. And once again, what I mean by intense, I mean fastest wind speeds, most damaging wind speeds.